Hi everybody, another day, a new painting. Today I'm going to create an image using negative space, and if that doesn't make any sense to you, I'll show it to you. I've done some other videos, same technique. I've done flowers, buffalo, you can check those videos out, but today what I'm going to create is an elephant. There's my elephant. Elephants are interesting. I like their outer shape. They're big. We'll see if I can get an elephant to fit on this 12 by 12 canvas. So let me show you what I have here. Here's my canvas. I have a dirty pour mixed up. It has Payne's gray, some different blues, some white. The Payne's gray is kind of an elephant color, but I also like some little bit of surprise colors using different blues. The white helps create some contrast. So this is going to be the background color that I'm going to start with first. Just going to put it on there, and I'm going to spread it around. For this technique, I don't want this background to be very thick, it's going to be hard to control later. Plus, I'm going to be adding the negative space color, which is going to be yellow today. I'm going to add a little interest here with some more Payne's gray. I'm going to add a little bit of white. I just want a little more going on here in the center before I start. So I'm going to tilt this around, get a little bit of a mess going if I can. My paint is slightly thick today because if it's too thin, you really have trouble creating your image. So a little bit heavier, thicker paint. Helps you maintain the shape that you want. I'm just tilting it around to see. I'll let this run down just a minute before I start creating the elephant shape. Okay, I think I see an elephant. We'll find out. My background color, the negative shape color, is a yellow. It's a nice contrast. If you're going to do this, pick a lighter color or a contrasting color. It'll help your image stand out. And I also put this in a paper cup as opposed to a plastic cup because I can bend it in and get a nice precision pour. So I'm going to start pouring the top side of the elephant. And then I'm going to tilt it and let it run off. Get some coverage on the top side. I want to do this one side first, being the top side of the elephant first, and get a little bit of control of that before I go on. And it will move around as I work. It will change. What I wanted to maintain was I like this blue here. This is going to be the head of the elephant. And then this white ends up just being part of the design, kind of the interest. So now I'm going to pour a little more yellow and start to create the actual trunk. This is imaginary. As you can see, I'm not using any photos. It's just what an elephant looks like to me, just in kind of a primitive way. Here's where I want to get a little more precision going. I'm going to drag this yellow up into what I think is a very important part of the elephant. It's his little mouth and the shape of the trunk. Here's his leg. And I'm going to shape his back and head here just a little bit more. I want that to stay yellow. So I'm just looking at how I want my elephant to look. It's telling me and I'm telling it. It's a combination of working back and forth. You can't over worry about your final thing because it's meant to be loose. I'm going to see if I can get his trunk to go a little bit more. So really, I think all I'm going to do now is to shape his, put an ear in there. I think the outline of an ear is important in an elephant. It really helps describe what it is you're painting here. And the other thing I like to do with this type of technique when I'm painting an actual subject is to outline it in black. I find every time I do this, it really helps strengthen the image because it's such a loose, abstract image that just a touch of black around it helps define it. And I want to define his trunk a little bit better. His little lower part of his mouth is also an important aspect to me. I'm going to outline his legs. I like using a stick. It keeps it kind of primitive. I don't want to use a brush or anything that's real precision. I like this whole thing being loose. This is the whole idea. Keep it loose, have fun. This is just my imaginary idea of an elephant. And again, the paint kind of tells you what's going to happen, and then you try and guide it just enough to make it look like what you think. The original intent. Everything comes out different though. I want to see if I can make this trunk happen just a little bit more. Taking some of this blue left. I like that better. And the other thing I can do is maybe add a touch of yellow to separate the trunk from the background. Now what I like to do, one of my signature things that I do is I scratch in a little sun. What happened here, this elephant ended up way up at the top, but there's no rules as to where you put these things. Since elephants are, here's the idea, since elephants are so big, why not have the sun be down here? I'm using a contrasting color, which is pink in this case. I like using a little spiral. It reminds me of petroglyphs, cave paintings, sort of primitive work, which is some of my favorite things. So this elephant is so tall that the sun is setting underneath him. I'm going to turn this around. It's interesting, it's kind of contemporary and primitive at the same time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch this over the next few minutes. The paint is heavy enough where it shouldn't move. Again, if you're doing this technique, it's better to have your paint a little less runny, a little thicker. It'll stay put better. I'm just looking at some really minor things here. Maybe strengthen this trunk up just a little bit more with black. And this can also be done after it's dry. I'm trying to do as much as I can while it's wet because it's the fluidity is what's interesting. Obviously, if you wanted 100% control, you would just paint dry on wet on a dry background, but I like the fluid aspect. That's why we're here, right? This is pour painting. So there's Mr. Elephant or Mrs. Elephant. I'm going to call that good for now. And again, I'll take a look at this over the next few minutes. But it's a fun contemporary elephant, and I hope you'll try this method. And we'll see you in the next video.